What's up, gamers? It's your host, Cobra, and today I'm walking you through how to get set up with a Riot Racers account and enter your first race. Last week, Riot Racers activated paid racing as well as rewards, and that means that we now have a play and earn game. Now, by no means is this complete. There are still plenty of features to come before we can consider this a full game economy, but today you can enter a race and win Riot tokens that have real world value, which means we are now playing and earning. Which is very exciting, of course. So today I'm going to walk you through the basic steps of how to get started with Riot Racers. We're going to create an account, we're going to load up the game wallet with some Riot, and then we're going to enter a race and hopefully win. Then towards the end, I've also got some suggestions for what I'd like to see from the team so that racing can be even more fun and profitable. So step one naturally is to create an account on riotracers.com. I have linked that below as always, and I've set up a second wallet that I'm not really using so that I can show you what the process looks like. We're not going to complete the process today because I don't need a third Riot Racers account, but I want you to be able to see all of the steps. So step one is head to riotracers.com and then click on Start. This is going to ask you to connect your MetaMask wallet and we'll start the sign up process. So click login with MetaMask. It's going to give you a prompt to sign. You want to click on that and then type in your information. Now, I already have created an account with the username Cobra, so this is not going to work. And that is also not my real email address, but feel free to try it if you like. You click continue. There's going to be an anti-bot warning here that always pops up. And then assuming you've chosen a unique username, that will go through and that really is it. Now at this point, you've got an account on riotracers.com. You're going to need to purchase some Riot tokens to actually play the game. Now doing this is rather simple. I've included a link to QuickSwap below. This is the Polygon option for swapping ETH or Matic into Riot tokens, and that is going to be the cheapest and lowest cost way to do that. Everything in Riot Racers operates on Polygon, so that's the way that you're going to want to go. Keep your gas fees nice and low, and so that you're not losing very much each time you swap for Riot. But let's jump over to QuickSwap and walk through what that process looks like. When you first click on the link, it's going to ask you to import the Riot token. This is normal because it is new. QuickSwap has not done any sort of validation here, but as long as you're using official links and the one that I have copied is directly from the Discord, you're going to be just fine. So click OK there, and then unless you have Matic ready to go, you're probably going to want to swap wrapped Ether. So go ahead and change that. Type in how much Riot you're looking to purchase. We aren't actually making a purchase today because we already have plenty of Riot, but this is what it would look like to purchase 100 as of a couple of days ago. That price, of course, could have changed by now, but click on Confirm Swap, and a few seconds later, you will have Riot instead of ETH. You've purchased some Riot, you've set up your account. When you log in, this is what the screen is going to look like, and the overview screen gives you the option to select one of your cars. I have selected my pink Warhammer because that is one of my absolute favorites, and it shows you a bunch about the car. I'm pointing at the experience points there. The 0.2 is indicative of 4 completed races with that car, because you're getting 0.05 experience for each completed race. Doesn't matter how you finish as long as you finish. There's also a wallet section, which is a nice summary because with layer 2 plus mainnet plus a game wallet, can get a little bit confusing in terms of where all your tokens are. So that gives you a nice overview. The actual wallet itself gives you a better overview, and you've got a couple of options for getting to the wallet. As you saw, you can click on the wallet tab on the left. You can also click on your balance in the top right. They both bring you to the same place, and here you can see both your ETH and your Riot on mainnet, Polygon, and the in-game wallet. The in-game wallet is what you're going to be spending out of when you're in the Riot Racers app, and that's where we need to get our Riot tokens so that we're able to play. And I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like. I already have Riot tokens in my in-game wallet. That's the green one there at the top, and the balance that you see in the top right. However, I've got some extra here so that I can show you what a deposit looks like. Click on the deposit and convert button. Then you're going to type in how much you want to add, and then you're going to give it the source. If you had any on mainnet, that would be a selectable option. Since I have it on Polygon, we're going to go ahead and choose that option, and that will allow us to make a deposit. Now, I had 500 is too much, so I changed it here to 100, and as you can see, it says right there that 100 Riot's going to be credited to your in-game wallet once you click deposit. So we're going to do that. It's going to ask you to sign. You'll notice the gas fees are in Matic because we are on the Polygon sidechain. That's great because that is essentially free, and it's relatively fast too. So as you see, it goes through really quickly. It does take probably 15 or 20 seconds for the app to recognize it, but once you do, you'll see it in the transaction section, and here it is still pending. But in another second or so, we will see the balances start to change. The refresh button at the top right so far doesn't look like it works. And while I am waiting, this is showing you the rewards tab. This is how you can earn Riot passively. So I'm a tycoon in the ROC. You can see I've got almost 10 Riot there to claim. That's there every single day, and it is based on the Genesis land and cars that we currently own. But here we go back to the wallet, and now enough time has passed that my in-game balance has gone up by 100 Riot. You're going to notice the Polygon balance didn't actually go down yet. However, a refresh shows that that has gone down now as well, and our wallet is set up and ready to race. Then if you want to withdraw, which we're not going to necessarily do today, but if you want to withdraw, it's the exact opposite process. You're clicking the withdraw button, typing in how much you want to take out. And here I'm pointing out that you do have a limit of 5 withdrawals per day and a maximum of 3,500 Riot. I can't imagine that is going to be an issue for anybody. But important to note, because you don't have a choice here, is that the Riot is going to be sent to your wallet on Polygon. Now that's where we want it for in-game purposes. However, when you're going to convert it to ETH, you may prefer for it to be on mainnet, so there's going to be an extra step there and an extra fee, and then something to consider because going back and forth between the game wallet and Polygon is essentially free. That's really no big deal. When you go from Polygon back to mainnet, that does have a gas fee and needs to be factored in. I have seen people not pay attention and withdraw, say, $20 worth of Riot, and they paid $30 worth of ETH in order to do so. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so don't be that guy. Okay, so at this point we have some Riot in our in-game wallet. We're going to click on the race tab, and this is going to bring us over to the racing section. Now I have chosen rookie and rally races because I want to use my rally Warhammer, and I chose a high heat race condition so that I could pick my favorite fire mecha. Here, because it is slow, I'm going to choose the pink Warhammer. I like the Warhammer whenever the conditions indicate that it might be a bit slower. I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's the theory that I'm operating under. And now here, you can see I have several preset strategies already saved, but none that match the race conditions for this particular race. So I'm going to go through it individually, and I am just choosing things based on guesses at this point. I do not have enough data to tell you what's the right strategy or the wrong strategy today. The one that I'm picking I do think works pretty good, but it is not all that tested out. But once you've chosen your 6 choices, you click enter. It's only a 10 Riot race because it's rally, and here we are under pending. You can now see there are 5 out of 8 racers in this race, and all we have to do is wait for that to fill up, and then under the results section a minute later, there will be the results for the race. Okay, so a few minutes have passed, and we go back to the app and check in the results section to see if the race has finished. It has, so we clicked on the race, and this is the race results screen. And here you can see that we got 5th place out of 8 racers, which is not terribly great. However, if you look at our time, we finished less than 2 seconds out of the lead, so we weren't too far off. I've had plenty of results where we finished, say, 6th or 7th, but we lost by 8 or 10 seconds, and that is clearly not a good strategy because that's way behind. But if I'm close, then I know my strategy wasn't too far off, at least from the winner's strategy. It's always possible that nobody used the ideal strategy and somebody could have beaten us by 10 seconds, but in this particular case, I think we're relatively close to the right strategy, but we've got something a little bit wrong. Now, perhaps the difference is just that 4 people had a better driver for this track, or potentially a car that matches this track and conditions a little bit better. But either way, we were a little bit short on this one, and that has been typical. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next section, but great. So we created an account, we purchased some Riot tokens, we loaded up our in-game wallet, and we entered and completed a race. You're all set. If that's all you came to this video for, then go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button before you click on to the next video. But I want to take this time to provide a little bit of feedback in terms of how the game is running today and some stuff that we would like to see from the team in terms of future improvements. So the first thing that I want to call out is that when you first start, I highly recommend that you stick to the free races or the most inexpensive races because it's tough sledding out there. During the public beta, races had no limits, and they were all free to enter. And the smartest and hardest working racers took that time to compile a lot of data in terms of what works well and what doesn't work well, because today that's really the only way to figure out a good strategy. And because of that, those particular racers are dominating the track because nobody else really knows what they're doing yet, and they have a great strategy for just about every scenario already mapped out. I did notice on day 1 that it was primarily Team FW dominating the races. It hasn't been quite as bad since then, since they're not all on the track at the same time all of the time. But you're going to notice that there's a handful of racers out there kicking everybody's asses today, and we all have quite a bit of work to catch up to them. So for that reason, I am going to keep the paid racing relatively limited until I have developed some better strategies or the community has come up with some better tools to help guide our strategies, both of which are things that I fully expect will happen. The other thing is, over time, those racers are going to class up. Now, in theory, they could buy another low-class car, but you win more money in the higher classes, and that's where the prestige tends to be. So hopefully they are going to stick to those higher-end races, and the lower classes will be a little bit easier for people that are new to the game to actually have a chance to win. A few things that I'd love to see the team implement, and the first one is feedback in terms of how we did in the race. Now today we enter, we see the results, and that's it. There's really no way to tell what you did poorly And honestly, it shouldn't be too easy to tell what you did poorly, because otherwise, within a few days, everybody's going to have a good strategy. But there needs to be some way to improve. My hope is that this is going to happen when we are able to start watching the race replays. Because if the choices that we're making, we know that they affect the algorithm and the results of the race, but if they also affect how we see our car racing during the race, then that means we are going to be getting feedback from watching the race itself. So that would mean things like, if you chose a good acceleration strategy, then you should be doing well off the starting line. If you chose a poor braking strategy, then you're probably going to struggle in the corners. Things like that will give us hints as to whether or not we've made good choices or bad choices, and would go a long way towards making the game more fun to try and improve upon. The other thing that I think we need to see added is some sort of racing limitations. Now today, the only real limitation is how much Riot you have. And that's okay, but it means that the top racers are able to continually enter races and continually dominate because they have better strategies. They're winning at a very high clip, and there's really no reason for them to slow down. And honestly, good for them. This was somewhat predictable to see coming, and they had a plan and executed it. That's something that we did not do. So no complaining from me, but it has created a scenario where most of the players are jumping in, trying races, losing, and getting a little bit frustrated. And that's not what we want. We want everybody having fun racing, and I think limits, at least in the near term, would be a good way to make that a little bit better. Okay, so I think it is safe to assume that the race replays are going to improve things quite a bit, and I think it's likely that that is going to solve the feedback issue. However, that's not coming next week or probably the week after. I'm expecting that sometime in April, which means we've got a little bit of time before we get to that stage. I think as a temporary measure, perhaps a AMA with the team talking a little bit more about the different factors that go into a race, and just understanding what they mean a little bit better and what the different options mean a little bit better, I think would go a long way without ruining the balance or the ecosystem for anybody. And that wraps up our Riot Racers How to Enter a Race video. I hope that you found this helpful, and if you did, consider following us on Twitter. Also, do me a favor and make sure you've hit that like and subscribe button. I know I ask every time, but it's really helpful for the channel.